Hello everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak today. Thank you very much for joining this session, my presentation. Our presentation will be devoted to program instrument Intel is offering for tasks of artificial intelligence. And we will make now a short overview. Generally speaking, Intel is looking at the whole task for using artificial intelligence as a multi-layer story. If you look at the slide, Intel is a well-known hardware producer, and the lower line shows that Intel is offering a large amount of a wide range of hardware. Ivan and Mikhail talked about that, and Anna, speaking about OpenWin, also mentioned this. We see that there is a large number of hardware devoted to artificial intelligence, like specialized accelerators, central processors, and so on. This is what Intel offers, but hardware is useless if you do not have proper software for it. You cannot imagine a value from plain hardware if software is not working effectively on it. Only software together with hardware can give you a certain level of efficiency. And for software developers, for data scientists, Intel is offering their highly optimized libraries and frameworks and compilers and profilers, full range of instruments, tools for development of software, tools for optimization of software, and of course the majority of them is combined under the umbrella of one API initiative Ivan was talking about today. But this is not it. The task of Intel is to create an ecosystem in a way to cover not only software developers but end users, solution providers, and also cover organizations that offer services, provide services based on artificial intelligence. That's why Intel is organizing an ecosystem, and for this we have several programs we plan to speak about a bit later. So let's have a look at the main software packages Intel is offering for software developers. We see, generally speaking, we can split specialists who need effective hardware, Intel hardware through Intel software. We can split them into developers of software, specialists in machine learning, specialists in deep learning, and data scientists. We are all here representing all the groups, and with the ticks we show for what target audience we offer a package of solutions. Anya was talking about OpenVINA. We see that OpenVINA is offered for specialists like data scientists, for software developers, and deep learning specialists. Also, Anna mentioned Model Zoo, and we see that deep learning specialists and data scientists can use pre-trained models, pre-trained templates to use in their work, and of course they can download these models using OpenVINA components model downloader and just download from the internet when they go there. If they go to Intel Model Zoo, finding it through a search engine, so you can download and experiment with it. And Intel is also working closely with producers of the most popular frameworks, adding optimized functions, optimized capabilities into frameworks. And here we show TensorFlow and PyTorch, and it can be interesting for a wide number of specialists. In data analysis, we know that large systems and a lot of computational capabilities are used for classic data analysis, for big data analysis. Intel also offers its approaches, and these approaches are going under Analytics ZOR umbrella. We will also touch upon it a bit later on the slides. And finally, one of the most popular runtime language of development is Python. Well, it's hard to find a specialist in data analysis or data processing who doesn't know this language. They all use this language. Many of them make it voluntarily. And Intel is offering optimized Python runtime and a large number of optimized packages. And we can also discuss it later on. So this is the main thing. If you see yourself as data scientists, all these instruments are for you. If you are a developer of code, there is OpenVINO and specialists in machine learning, Python, Analytics ZOR, TensorFlow, PyTorch, and deep learning specialists. We also have a lot of things to offer, interesting things, and the software packages, program packages Intel is offering for specialists. So let's stop with this slide. Again, we mentioned one API many times now, but the instruments, the software that is offered by Intel is of course one API initiative and is organized in 3 packages. The lowest level package for specialists who like to get deeper into optimization, who is working with microarchitecture analysis, knows about assembler very well, and knows how to use instruments of deep analysis of productivity like Vitune, Advisor, and others. They create low-level libraries that offer the next level efficient capabilities for utilizing the hardware. And these libraries for specialists in deep learning, Intel is offering a library which is called 1DNN. It is part of one API. Previously, it was called MKLDNN, but with one API out, now it is called 1DNN. This is optimization of use of primitives of deep learning in Intel hardware, and this is within the framework of one calculating device. For instance, if we have a large-scale task on the table and we need to train neural networks and make it quickly, and we lack resources and we have significant limitations in terms of timing, for this, let's imagine that we have a highly productive cluster. We had presentations today about the cluster of Sber, high productivity cluster, and in Russia we have a number of high productivity clusters in academic structures, organizations, and universities, and also clusters of high productivity do exist in the industry. They can also be used to train neural networks, and Intel is offering an optimized library, one API collective communication library that allows you to combine high productivity resources and use them for training of neural networks. This is low-level optimization. Of course, using the best NPI, the best in the world, Intel library, but specialized instructions. NPI is a general-purpose library, but if you can have acceleration from scenarios in deep learning, then some things in one CCL are optimized for deep learning also. So this is low-level libraries. And next frameworks that are combined into AI Analytics Toolkit are extensively using the low-level libraries. Intel optimization for TensorFlow, Intel optimizes for TensorFlow, and we have a special branch for optimization of TensorFlow and PyTorch. This is a joint optimization together with Facebook, optimization of PyTorch on Intel platforms, and our favorite Python. Our teams of software, they provide for Python and Python modules. They optimize for them. All these components can be used and are used when launching in Intel hardware. They use low-level layer, DNN, and collective communication library. So, by definition, in Intel CPU frameworks use 1DNN. If there is a need to use massive processing with distributed memory, these frameworks use 1CCL. And Anna mentioned a lot, gave us a lot of details in OpenVINO, but let's also speak about OpenVINO again. Of course, training neural networks is a very important task. But the impact will only be there if application of the trained model is more efficient than the training in terms of the efforts spent. So if we spend resources on training, of course we want to have some efficiency when applying the neural network in millions and billions devices, wearables or clouds. To have the impact of neural networks for it to be more than the investments we make into training of the network. So this is a very good tool to optimize models and to efficiently launch them in Intel hardware. And let's go to frameworks now. So and Mikhail mentioned that Intel is adding hardware functions into central processors, Xeon processor, and among the recent additions, Intel DL Boost special instructions to accelerate neural networks. And we see that Intel, apart from just optimizing the frameworks, Intel is giving an opportunity to frameworks to use central processors, hardware capabilities, and also have significant acceleration against the option where we do not use such hardware capabilities. For NXNet, for PyTorch, for TensorFlow, Kafka, we also worked with them, and OpenVINO for application. It can be used if your model is trained across all frameworks. So if there is an opportunity, please give a chance to Intel AI and Analytics Toolkit and try Intel's optimized frameworks. This might give you significant acceleration when training and making inference. So why frameworks from Intel can have such acceleration? First thing to mention is the intellectual element. Engineers of Intel invest into these frameworks. Who are, well, the engineers of Intel know hardware the best, and Intel is actively and strongly investing into developers. We have large headcount of program engineers, both in Russia. In Russia, we had a lot of them. Ivan mentioned this. And the first thing to mention is scaling up. So improvement of the balance of scaling up, both in height and width. But even if we have a central processor, we need to effectively use all capabilities that exist, like the previous speakers said. Intel is dreaming of no transistors not used, but in central processors we have many cores, and we need to effectively use all of them. And for this, we use the parallel methodology. to balance the load and use all cores that sit in the processors and accelerators and mix pure. But within the framework of one core, every calculating core is a comprehensive, complicated architecture solution. And in one core, there are a lot of blocks of processing information. And even if our app is one stream, anyway, we can use a large number of computing blocks in one core, and you need to computerize your code or a single instruction multiple data approach to be applied. And this is used widely. If we look at one DNN library, which is basis of effective optimization for frameworks, to the right, we can see that all functions are very efficiently vectorized. For instance, vtune or advisor, and launch them, and they will show the percentage of vectorization of all functions of the used instruction, how effectively the microarchitecture is used. And by the way, we have a demo at the Intel stand. You can download a demo where it is shown how you can profile one DNN library, which is the basis for all frameworks, almost all frameworks, and look on low microarchitecture level how effectively the hardware is utilized. For instance, probably you might not know what is inside one DNN. You can launch this and look at how effective your code is for specific hardware where it is executed. And another element, efficient utilization of cache. Our engineers using the instruments optimize all that to effectively use new types of memory, like optane persistent memory, to use new hierarchy of memory. We launched together with Skylake processors to effectively use new types of cache, and so on and so forth. And all these things taken together gives us as a result acceleration we saw on the previous slide. But let me switch the slide. However, if we imagine that we do not have HPC cluster, it so happened that we do not have enough capacities. We have large infrastructure, Spark infrastructure we use for data analysis, for analysis of big data. Is it possible to use this infrastructure if we want to enhance capabilities of our project in data analysis and add deep learning into it? So let's imagine that our system is processing a large amount of data, regressions and things like that, but we want to add capabilities and make ensembles of methods and add deep learning. And for this, Intel is offering additionally to the current infrastructure, it is possible to add specialized framework of deep learning from Intel. It is called BigDL Intel framework, which is devoted to use deep learning in Spark infrastructure. That's what Intel is offering, BigDL. And if you can develop your app, and BigDL will automatically deparallel the task of deep learning into working instances and working nodes, Spark nodes of infrastructure. And our task will be only to just have fun from the process and added value from such process. But you need to develop the program to use it effectively and spend efforts on this. And we have a platform that is called AnalyticZoo. AnalyticZoo is a pre-trained model and ready-made templates you can use in Spark infrastructure to connect the current models for TensorFlow and BigDL and Keras in many areas. So you can just try it. There are samples and cases of apps. The analytic zoo has cases of apps that on Spark infrastructure use the TensorFlow, Keras, and BigTL, and you can adapt the app in the source code or it is Python notebook. You can adapt it to your needs. Make it according to the template. So this is also a great thing to have. So in this case, this is the description of BigDL, what it is all about, and it is a specific thing for Spark infrastructure, and it adds to Spark infrastructure framework from Intel for deep learning. Analytic zoo. So look here, we have ready-made scenarios in detection of anomalies and detection of fraud, detection of images and classification and tracking of objects. Here we have pre-trained deep learning models, and you can use models from Model Zoo, of course, and this is a high-level API. If you go to the website in GitHub and look at the Analytics Zoo, you will see cases, use cases, and there are apps, Python notebooks, and well, it's all quite clear out there. Connectors are created, and through standard Spark methods, they are paralleled for the working nodes. And this is what Intel adds to the infrastructure of Spark to use deep learning in Spark infrastructures. And of course, our great Python. We cannot not mention it. A lot of people use it. We optimized Fortran, C, C++, our libraries, and it is high time that Intel adds Python into its portfolio. And now we have Intel distribution for Python, Intel Python, that optimizes the runtime. And apart from that, there are a lot of packages that have been optimized. They exist in open source version, and there are versions optimized by Intel, and inside they have highly optimized libraries with native code like MKL and DAL. One DAL they call it, one MKL, and you can deparallel it to use in the cluster and in multi-core approaches. And the main specificity of Intel Python is as follows. Comparing against the default Pythons, we try to ensure transparency of utilization. If you change a module, for instance, you have Anaconda, and in Anaconda you launch your program. You can create environment Intel and set the packages from Intel channel, and we make all the efforts to have the result that is different only in terms of productivity, and for this productivity to be higher, to offer higher productivity in Intel modules than comparing against that of default. And you can have TensorFlow or Intel TensorFlow, and you will have the same accuracy, but with a lower amount of time. Of course, you can use standalone package and download Intel distribution for Python, and Docker images are also available. Intel Python is part of all toolkits from One API initiative. So you just try it, and I'm sure you will see that it is worth it. For classic data and data analysis, for classic machine learning, for neural networks, we have a very good library which is called Data Analytics Acceleration Library. It is also open source under Apache license with API for Python, Java, and C++, which offers functions for processing data, for processing and
for transformation of data, analysis, modeling, validation, and decision-making. Very optimized library. Please look up the demo my colleagues are showing, Igor and Kirill. Also, you can look up it at the booth of Intel by the efficiency of using the Intel DAL library. Well, they compare the advantages and also in the framework of the initiatives in classical data analysis. Intel optimizes XGBoost, optimizing also. You can import the model from XGBoost in large DBM to get radical acceleration. Please don't hesitate and look up the demo, both load the video. And if you have boosting for the classification or boosting for ATIC, then first DAL, and if DAL cannot be used for some limitations, so you can export the trained model to get the acceleration. The guys showing how to do it. The code is very simple, and they provide all the explanations. Great library. Please use it. Intel 1 DNA, it's to accelerate neural networks, and it's under all optimized frameworks which are launched at the CPU. Whatever framework you take, if you launch it at the CPU, well, you will, 1DNL will be used there. And it is also open source. And certainly, Intel distribution of OpenVINO toolkit, it's a great instrument. Please use it if you have inference of neural networks. For the fields of application, it's machine vision, and Anna said that we are distancing from it. No, we're not. We are actively developing it, adding some new functionalities. But besides computer vision, we are adding sound and speech processing, effectively use of efficiency. So that's about the software tools. Of course, we can provide more details. Please address the Ask Expert room and Intel software booth. We have highly qualified specialists on duty. Please ask difficult questions about Intel software, and they will tell you all, and they will explain things to you in detail. Let's now look at what Intel is proposing to create an ecosystem. Before me, my colleagues were talking about software and now about ecosystem. It's a program Intel AI Builders. Intel unites developers, partners, both software complexes under one ecosystem program. If you have an idea, Intel can help you to do the view and co-marketing and investments, and also get you acquainted with your colleagues who are possibly looking for the ideas you offer. So don't hesitate. Address your Intel representative, and first, if you want to participate in Intel AI Builders program, and you can see the website with lots of examples and descriptions, and we will be happy to see you in our ecosystem. And about the advantages of this program. So the ecosystem allows you to test at the recent Intel hardware, and even if you have ideas, and we even, for instance, have not yet provided the hardware, but we will allow you to test it on future architectures, and of course helping with deployment. It's a big ecosystem. It's not the full list, and we hope that the brand and logo of your company also will be on this page, and you will be part of Intel AI Builders system on. And in the framework of providing end-to-end solutions, Intel works with suppliers of tech providers and can also help you providing the whole complex. It's certified settings and also pre-installed software and hardware and software components, and also with some predefined settings. The main tasks which are mostly used in hardware and software components, they are all pre-installed. So please address our sales and engineers. Example of what end-to-end solutions we have in data analytics, AI, cloud and security, HPC, and geographically we are providing China here. So don't hesitate, contact Intel, and we will be happy to communicate and help you and cooperate. So my time is up. Of course, I am saying thank you to everybody for saying and participating in the session, and we are very happy. I have some time left for questions, so I will try to cover. Dima. You, as someone who was involved in evolution of the means of development, how comfortable do you think it will be to go from Spike to CCP plus, even in data parallel? CCP plus. Well, look, actually, Intel Python is a part of our one API toolkit, so you can use them jointly. There are interfaces with Python and C++. You can use them jointly. So, but if you are a cool expert and you got from Python and now decided to go back, there will be no serious problems, I'm sure, for you to do it. If you are a great specialist in Python, then first of all, at our booth there's a field of vacancies. You can leave your CV there, and we have some proposals and offers for Python specialists. We in Intel in Nizhny Novgorod, for instance, we have great Python specialists who are now using the DPC++, CPC++. So there are efficient examples of this kind of research. Great. C++ is something you should not be afraid of, and DPC++ is something you shouldn't be afraid of. We are doing our best to ease up the pain and make the life easier for engineers and developers with new software paradigms and libraries. So Intel is doing our best without, of course, losing efficiency of hardware. Thank you very much. As Dmitry said, and invited you to the demo booths, I would like to also invite you to demo AOT, and you will see how it operates, and also the server demo stand for Intel, where we are giving explanations and descriptions as to how new algorithms are used in Xeons and other platforms for data centers. PJ, and very importantly, we are doing it, solving things in storages, because AI is a story about data.